Real you guys, how far in this process would you get before it wasn't worth the money?
Well, I'm a big pussy, so
Me too.
when I woke up with like a punched in face, I'd probably be out of there.
Yeah, me too.
How much is your pinky really worth?
Well, I would never do that. And then everything after that is like, of course you're not going to do that. You're certainly not going to do anything that happens after that. But yeah, I'd probably move back in with my parents.
Smart move.
No, I mean I'd end up killing myself. Experiment in psychosis, but
So
they're not going to see this, are they?
I'm going to send it right to them.
Okay.
Since the movie is screened, do people come up to you and ask you to do crazy things for money?
Not yet.
No, well, not any more than usual.
Yeah. Can I get my picture taken with you? And then they don't offer anything.
Oh, I was.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about the process of joining this film? Did they come to you with the script?
Yeah, they came to both of us separately, and then I came on, and then
And I was convinced.
then yeah, she wasn't having it, and then she heard I was doing it. I was like, oh, it must be good.
And I was like, sign me up.
Something like that. No, what it was I don't know. From my point of view, I was much more comfortable doing some of the things that I had to do with her because we're friends. Although one day when we had to do something, I said, is it better or worse that we're friends? And she was like, I don't know. Not worse, but...
I was just scared because normally when I'm playing a character, I feel like I can find a piece of myself in it, and I'm like, oh, I know that person. I'll just bring that out. But with this, I'm like, God, I don't think I'm that fucked up. So
there's also this powerful, fierce attraction that she has for me. It's unfortunate and unrequited. It doesn't go the other way. So she's really afraid that she was just gonna explode with ecstasy and then not be able to put the genie back in the bottle. So
I couldn't hold it in any longer. It really was.
Okay.
Yeah.
And can you tell me about your characters specifically? Because you've got this crazy arc there, and then you've got the challenge of kind of playing someone who's all in her head, but you got to see it at the same time.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I play someone who you believe is mild-mannered, but he clearly has a past of having done something, not been so much. So he's the kind of person who thought, well, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll get married, I'll have a kid, I'll get a regular job, and all that other stuff will go away. But when you repress whatever, sort of rage or anger or what you have inside you for that long, the first opportunity you get to exercise that, it explodes, and that's what happens. So I like to think of this, sort of problem that just builds and builds and festers. People that act it out, like Ethan's character, he utilizes it in his daily life, but I don't. And when it happens, it just explodes. So.
How well do you guys know him? Are you guys all buddies? Yeah.
Not very well. I mean, I met him right before the shoot, and we hung out just to get to know each other and have be friends and stuff. And things got a little hairy. Like when things got intense in the movie, they got intense between us. It just was that male, testosterone BS. But I spoke to him yesterday, actually. He's filming up in Canada, and I left him a message, and he called me back, and he's really happy that the movie's doing well. He said he can't be here and everything, but so it's good. I thought maybe we weren't bros anymore because it ended on a really intense note, and the movie was kind of shot in sequence, But I was happy to hear from him yesterday. But I don't know him that well. And you didn't get to talk about your character.
What?
It was a character that she's thinking the whole time, but we don't actually see her doing, but we need to know kind of what she's plotting.
I guess what I'll say is that, and I'm going to sound really dumb when I say this probably, but
Don't do that.
well, I like I said before, I normally when I play characters, I'm like, I've been there, I know that person, I'm going to bring out that side of me, it's part of me, whatever. So for this, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to do real actor and stuff, have a backstory.
Does she have a backstory?
I made one up. So,
What did it entail?
well, I won't get into the details, but I think if you're really that like fucked up and you get off on seeing people hurt, you were probably hurt very badly as a child by someone.
I like it. Yeah, she gets increasingly aroused. The worse, the more violent it gets. It's really palpable.
Yeah.
I even think with like the innkeepers, we hadn't seen you do that, but that's like you. That's how you are. Like you're bubbly, funny personality and kind of goofy.
Yeah, and the way Ty wrote that movie, it just kind of like, I don't know, it just kind of like all happened.
Yeah, it really did. So did this one too.
True.
Sometimes it just comes together all right.
How is it going from that to this? Do you have to because two completely different characters and a completely different relationship. Do you have to shake it off and
Well,
forget
it was quite a bit of time. I mean, it was like almost 3 years later that we shot it, right?
Yeah, but it's also, it is a little weird at times. I mean, like when I'm humping your
that's
balls,
weird.
it's strange.
After the
Humping
bounce
my
back, I feel
balls.
like all we've talked about
You know how
is sexual
sex
things
works?
today.
It doesn't work that way.
What do you mean?
So you hump the balls, right?
Goes great for the dad.
She has a dog named Balls.
I do.
Legitimately.
Legitimately.
Yeah, she
Dog's
does.
name is Balls. Clearly, I'm obsessed with Balls.
Balls. But it's a different relationship. I wouldn't say that was like I thought about the other movie. I mean, it certainly gave the movie some press, like when they announced that we were in it together and it was a reunion because people like that movie and everything. But I don't know. It was just a different characters and.
It made it fun on set, but I don't think it
Yeah, it was.
affected anything.
It was a different. I mean, we don't have the same kind of rapport in the movie that we do in Innkeepers, where we sort of have this witty repartee back and forth. We have a different relationship. There's really only a couple scenes where we're sort of one-on-one, so usually it's within the group, and that's totally a different energy.
Totally.
How's it handling the different types of horror, especially for you? Because we were talking about Last House on the Left this morning, that Innkeepers in this are just so wildly different.
So different. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I like doing different things because it's fun, exciting. Getting butt raped is exciting.
She has a great range. I mean, what I would say. The answer to that question is I get to play all kinds of different parts, and I like to show that I have range because I have range, and Sarah does too. It's great.
Thank you. Yeah.
That and somebody might not think that about her, but it's much earlier in her career. So that I hope that she keeps doing that. That keeps happening. I will say that was a little bizarre when a guy handed her a picture of her rape scene from Last House on the Left to sign
so
as we were going into the theater. People are so bizarre. Is it bad that I just said that?
No, I mean, that was weird.
Isn't that weird?
It would make me very uncomfortable.
He was like, "Will you sign this?" I was like,
I didn't find out till after it had happened. She was just kind of
You do know he's going to come back next year with a picture of you doing air sex in the bounce back. He's going to have a whole album before you know it.
You could call what we did air sex.
That was me humping your balls.
You weren't wearing a dance belt or whatever the hell that thing was.
Can you guys tell me a little bit about working with the blood and gore? I mean, you don't get too bloody, but you certainly do. What's the process even with, breaking your nose and having to make that effect identical every single day?
It was not just it's identical some days, but there's there's actually a slow progression because there's more things that happen and there's splatter here. So I will say that I loved my makeup artist Martha Sanchez, and I loved spending time with her every day, and I had to spend a lot of time with her every day, and she was very good and specific. And I liked the process because I actually added things to it where I stuffed. I have the tissue up my nose because it's bleeding, but I actually stuffed one way up in the other nostril too, so that my voice would sound like my nose was broken because I wouldn't be able to breathe out of it. So I would go the extra mile. I like that stuff, The other stuff that Hugo Villaseñor did, the prosthetic stuff, is amazing. And it's, it takes some time to go on, but I really love him too and spending time with him. And when I look in the mirror in a room with like really bright fluorescent lights, I can't even tell that it's makeup looking at myself.
How do you like that poster?
It's great. My mother is horrified though, and my mother hasn't even seen what I look like at the end of the movie. Like she's really like freaked out.
Are you going to show this to your mother?
They see everything. I can't stop them. I mean, they saw Compliance. I go, if there's anyone that you don't want to see, this is certainly the one. I won't be mad if you don't go see it. But they're very cultured people. Like I grew up, loving movies because of them. So they're very cultured people. It's not like My mother probably has a harder time separating out her little boy with some of the awful things that I do, but they can appreciate it as a movie.
You guys are just acting, but you're doing some pretty uncomfortable things here. So, I mean, like, is there ever a point where you just feel like so incredibly awkward you don't know if you could do something? I mean, like shitting on someone else's floor?
Well, obviously I'm not really shitting on somebody else's floor. The weird thing was it was a guy that, it turns out the guy's house next door that we were using is a guy that I have some beef with. So there was some weird poetic justice in that. But I have my pants on and my derriere sticking out, but the little girl is not there for that. Like she's not seeing that. She's shot separately and all that stuff. I would be uncomfortable with that. I was very, very uncomfortable. We had to shoot this stuff with my wife Amanda Fuller, the beginning and the end at the beginning of the film because it was on the same location. I had a really hard time with the little boy. I got really upset, and I actually, because he was upset, and he's fine now, but like I love kids and I have nieces and nephews and everything, and I just said I didn't know we were going to shoot it that way. I thought we would do the same thing like we did with the little girl. It just wasn't as well thought out, and he was fine, and his mom and dad were there, and they're friends of ours and everything, but that made me feel about as awful as anything I've ever done.
Is there anything movie magic-wise that's really cool here? Like something that you guys did on set to make it look horrifying on screen that's kind of like a neat trick?
It must be.
The dog was chicken.
Yeah, that dog is chicken.
That's good to know. That makes me feel a lot better.
Well, that's the thing is, like, I see, I'm like, what are people freaking out about? But to them, it's a dog. To me, I know it's chicken. I don't have to, like, freak it out. Oh, spoiler alert. But,
it's a horror movie. The second you put a dog in it, you know it's going to die.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's really, like, a hard thing to do something. And amazing, that's, like, the biggest reaction is when he puts a knife up to a dog's throat, Never mind murdering people, But, I don't know if there's anything I think that, I think it's kind of magic that it was 14 days and we felt really good about the performances and everything, but we didn't know it would come together as well as it did. And in 6 months, we shot it 6 months ago, so it's like this amazingly accomplished film that you would never guess was made for so little money in so short a period of time. I think that's pretty magic. I think that, Sarah's just magic when she shows up.
Stop it, Pat. You know that I feel the same way about you.
I love the shot where Dave Koechner is saying, man, it's like really deep relationship I have with my wife, and it cuts to her and she's just like texting that
what are you doing on the phone the entire time?
I was texting people. So I was like, hey, don't respond. I'm doing a movie right now, but I need to be texting someone. And by people, I mean my mom. Because I don't have friends.
Well, I'd be playing Words with Friends, so I guess it's kind of the same thing.
That too.
I tried to do Scramble, but it gets too intense.
I do that. Yeah, my fingers are not fast enough.
My brain isn't fast
enough. I have big, fat fingers. What I thought was really cool is none of the music is on the set. We don't hear any of that. We're just pretending. And in the movie, it's seamless. It's amazing because we didn't hear any of that. And she's playing the piano and she's doing this and all that. It's all silent on set.
Yeah.
And we just have to pretend that it's there, and that's seamless in the movie. That's really great.
Mm-hmm. And how was the screening the other night? Like, how does it feel to be here with this movie and get reactions? Because it's a horror movie, it gets big reactions.
It was amazing. We sat together, and neither of us had seen it, and she was laughing, so we were both laughing really hard.
Yeah, it was great.
And then, her boyfriend was like holding her hand at certain points where she was uncomfortable and stuff. But it was a really fun time. I mean, we had just as good a time as anyone else because we were seeing it for the first time too. So.
And getting an extra screening now too.
Yeah, tonight.
Hear the good news.
Apparently it's sold out already too.